All right, let's talk about Sean P. Diddy Combs. Yesterday, while we were on our way to the animal sanctuary, the reptile zoo, Sean P. Diddy Combs' homes were raided, both in Star Island in Florida, in Miami, and also in the Holmby Hills neighborhood, which is one of the most expensive real estate neighborhoods in the state of California, in Los Angeles. His homes were raided. His sons were in the Holmby Hills home. They were like handcuffed and stuff. It was crazy. This is, of course, coming on the heels of a trafficking investigation into Sean P. Diddy Combs. And we are going to... His sons were just handcuffed. I don't think they were arrested, but like that's normal. He was not there. He was not at his houses. Apparently, some of the people were tracking his private jet, which may or may not have landed outside of the U.S. borders. There are some photos that came out of him potentially pacing around nervously at the Miami private jet terminal right before he allegedly, possibly fled the country and went to Antigua. Let's take a look at the story now.
News tonight, we have some new details about why federal agents may have raided mansions belonging to musician and producer Sean Diddy Combs. CNN's Carlos Suarez is outside of his Miami home for us. So what more do you know about what's behind these searches?
Well, Anderson, a law enforcement source tells my colleague, Josh Campbell, that these search warrant activities at both of Combs' homes are related to an ongoing sex trafficking investigation. However, the source would not say whether Combs is the target of this investigation.
We have some time for sure. I can go for probably another hour, I think. But at the top of the hour, I will be serving a 3-minute ad break right now. Of course, if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, chatters, for $5 or free with the Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Here is the 3-minute ad break now. Okay. Watch the bridge analysis vid first. No, we're moving on from the bridge story. I already covered it extensively up and down. Okay. We're talking about Diddy now.
Citing the sensitivity of the investigation itself. Now, agents with Homeland Security raided 2 homes belonging to Combs, one here in Miami Beach, the other in Los Angeles. The property here in Miami Beach is an 11,000 square foot property. And late tonight, we saw agents walking out of this house carrying a cardboard box as well as several bags from the second story of the property out here. Now, agents in Los Angeles could be seen walking around Combs' house there. They were processing the scene there and could be seen taking notes on a table there. Now, an official with Homeland Security here in Miami tells me that the raid that took place here happened a little bit after 3 o'clock this afternoon. And a neighbor tells me that about 30 to 40 law enforcement officers showed up to the house out here and carried out this search warrant. Again, Anderson, late word tonight from a law enforcement source who tells my colleague Josh Campbell that these search warrants that were executed is in connection with a sex trafficking investigation. However, the source would not say whether Combs himself is the target of the investigation.
And has Sean Combs commented on the searches?
Yeah, so we have reached out to...
Who could it be? It must be a coincidence that they just happened to raid both of his... It's a real strange coincidence they happen to raid both of his homes. You know what I mean? It's just, they're looking for another guy, guys. Okay? Listen, make no mistake. The fact that he's not there and we don't know where he is also shouldn't be confusing or lead to any additional speculation. Who knows, you know? Hey, Sean, come back. We're looking for another guy. Yeah.
Two representatives.
Wait, what? It wouldn't be a sex trafficking story without the British royals involved in some way? Court paper names Duke of Sussex as an example of a well-known figure whom the defendants might have had access to. Are you joking? Prince Harry named in the Sean Diddy Combs lawsuit? Dude, bro. What? Bro, how, what? Oh my God. It's like the royals find themselves mentioned. I mean, in some capacity, I'm sure it's not like a Prince Andrew situation. I'm sure it's not like that. There's an interview where P. Diddy said Harry and Meghan were never at any parties.
Of Combs. However, we have not heard back. Again, all of this played out here at around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Almost
It's clickbait. They're just saying he had clout because he knew him. Oh, that's
immediately
it?
we were trying to get some details on exactly what was taking place, not only here in Miami and Los Angeles, but as of this late hour, we have not heard from any of Combs's representatives about the raids at either of his properties or the investigation itself.
All right, Carlos Suarez, appreciate it. Join me now, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson, and the aforementioned Josh Campbell. So, Josh, you were part of searches like this when you were an FBI agent. What do you read into what stands out to you about this?
Well, this is all becoming a little clearer, Anderson. You know, from the moment that we first saw those SWAT vehicles roll up to those homes, as well as mobile command posts, all of those vehicles emblazoned with the letters HSI, that was an indication for those in law enforcement that we're likely talking about sex trafficking, because HSI itself is the primary investigative arm of the Department of Homeland Security. They deal with transnational criminal groups, but they also have a robust effort underway to go after human traffickers. That involves two prongs, not only to rescue victims of human trafficking, but also to locate and prosecute those who may be behind the trafficking itself. And again, you know, a source now tells me this is part of an ongoing trafficking investigation. We don't yet know what specifically they were looking for at these residences. We did see on the aerial footage dozens of law enforcement agents that were descending on both of those locations. And so we'll have to wait and see what the search warrant itself actually entailed. But again, this comes after Sean Combs has faced a series of legal troubles in the past several months, to include one accuser, for example, back in December. This was a woman who was 17 years old at the time that she alleged in 2003 that she was sexually assaulted by Combs, saying that she was sex trafficked, that she was subject to gang rape. Of course, Combs himself had denied all of that. And then finally, just last month, a former employee of Combs had alleged in a civil lawsuit that he was forced to work for Combs, forced him to procure and interact with sex workers. And this individual also saying that Sean Combs' son, Justin, was accused of soliciting prostitutes and underage girls to attend various parties and functions. Again, the Combses have denied all of that, but all of this now coming into focus about what the likely key primary target here is of federal law enforcement. That's determined whether the extent of any sex trafficking that may have occurred in these residences and who may.
There is already many YouTube documentary on Diddy. Yeah, bro. Okay, it's a little bit different when we're talking about like an active Department of Homeland Security investigation into international trafficking potentially, okay? Versus a YouTube documentary from some guy who's like, look at P. Diddy being weird around Justin Bieber. Like, I know that P. Diddy is like a lot of people have talked about P. Diddy, but like this goes a little bit beyond the T accounts. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is like the T accounts might have been correct and might have been there ahead of time before anybody else. But like in many instances, they just also, you know, stack it up with a whole bunch of like weird shit, and weird, and it's always like almost always like reactionary in nature in the way that they talk about, like why these things are happening. Oh, it's the Illuminati. Like P. Diddy's a part of the Illuminati, and he's doing like humiliation rituals, yada yada yada, and he's like gay, and it's almost always homophobic too.
May be responsible.
So, Joey, just from a legal standpoint, would Sean Combs' attorneys at this hour now be informed about what exactly they were looking for?
Not necessarily. I mean, at some point, certainly you're going to want to, if you're the lawyers, assess, do you have a warrant? Is it valid? What specific information underlies that warrant? Where was the probable cause with respect to any type of criminality found, right? Who were the sources of that information? At some point, you'll have all of this. Remember that this is still an active and ongoing investigation. As part of discovery, if this does get into something criminal, I would have to presume the U.S. Attorney's Office is involved.
We should point out no criminal charges have been filed.
Not at all, right? This is simply an investigatory step, and at this stage of the investigation, they apparently went to a judge, right, Anderson, and said, look, we have reason to believe that indicia of criminality may lie within these residences.
So they show up with a search warrant at these houses,
Correct.
And whoever's there has to let them in.
Correct. I mean, if it's a valid warrant, presumably you have all these law enforcement officials there, you let them in, they search for what they search for, and then there's the other step. That other step being what specific specifically did you find? What, if any, connection is that to any criminality? You give it to prosecutors, and it's taken from there.
And are they told what was taken from the house?
Yes, there will be a specific list of items that will ultimately...
Is it weird that the DHS is doing these raids instead of the FBI? Yes. It's not weird that the DHS is doing these instead of the FBI. It just signals like what the scope of the investigation is. Department of Homeland Security doing it means that it's there's a likelihood that it is like human trafficking or trafficking of an international variety. FBI usually does that as well. They engage in human trafficking cases, but I think like they will do a collaborative one. But FBI is like if it was almost internally, like if it was like domestic, right? FBI can work on international cases as well. They also do human trafficking and all the other stuff. But I think that the DHS participating in the raid, or not Homeland Security participating in the raid means that there's an international component probably. I think FBI is interstate. If it just stays interstate, then I don't know if it would be like it would be Homeland Security. Maybe Homeland Security suggests a massive international criminal enterprise. I mean, I think so, but maybe not. I don't know. You don't know what you're set. You don't know what you're talking about and end up saying, I think. Yes, that is what I'm saying. Yes, I am like literally, that's how human language works. Like we don't know the details. I'm openly admitting that I do not know the details, which is why I am saying, I think it could be this. You are repeating that I am speculating and saying you're speculating on this issue. It's like, yeah, dumbass, I am. What do you want me to do? They're used to their favorite debate, pedophile, confidently stating incorrect things as fact. Expect that instead. I don't get it. Like, I'm openly admitting that I do not know. I do not have all of the details. I do not have all of the details of this situation. I cannot predict the future. So I am speculating, and I'm recognizing that I'm speculating. So when I say my understanding is, or what I think is going on, you know, that comes with the admission that like, I don't know. It's very odd to, you know, yell at me for not being confidently incorrect and instead being unconfident and recognizing my limitations. I've been only hanging out here since October, but the amount of brain dead you have in the chat is amazing. YouTube pervert's mad right now. Yeah, I don't know.
Ultimately be turned over to attorneys if it goes that far, which will delineate specifically what we took, what room we took it from, who was the agent or agents who secured that information, and then it'll go a step further because there'll be analysis on what items that were taken and what, if anything, in that analysis in a laboratory showed that it was connected to any type of sex trafficking, if any, right? And from there, there'll be, or there won't be, a criminal prosecution.
Joshua, I mean, when people hear the term sex trafficking, what comes to mind is moving people across borders. I mean, I assume that's not what's involved here. If that, in fact,
it's unclear
any of that went on.
Yeah, it's unclear about the extent, you know, how global this we're talking about. Obviously, with human trafficking, that can be transnational in nature, where people are brought in from overseas.
Whoa. Listen up, big guy. I can't believe you're mentioning that like a trafficking could be international. Excuse me. Seems like these guys at CNN are doing some really fucked up shit, dude. Why would you say such a crazy thing?
But sex trafficking happens all across the United States here domestically from people who are from the United States, particularly young victims who are subjected to such depravity by individuals. And this is why you have agencies like HSI primarily leading the effort to try to rescue those victims in order to hold accountable anyone who may be responsible. But it's something that, you know, it doesn't get a lot of attention, particularly because a lot of these investigations happen behind the scenes. There's another element where oftentimes investigators will try to protect the privacy of victims, obviously for good reason, but it certainly is a very sinister threat that HSI continues to investigate coast to coast.
We should point out there have been a number of civil lawsuits, I guess, against Sean Combs. Again, no criminal charges, it's really important to point out, have been filed. This was executing 2 search warrants. Is it, Joey, I mean, is it common for if there are civil cases that would trigger a Department of Homeland Security investigation?
Not necessarily and not at all. However, if you have civil complaints, right, civil lawsuits relating simply to that, right, the securing of compensation based upon some sexual misconduct that's alleged, that's a civil in nature. In this particular case, apparently authorities evaluated that, and from that, they certainly would have had access to the witnesses underlying those allegations, could have interviewed those witnesses, and could have determined that based upon the civil allegations, there could be criminality that may very well have led to the probable cause, which led to these warrants, which is leading to this criminal investigation.
Joey Jackson, thanks very much. Josh Campbell as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to the P. Diddy stuff, I think, beyond this, but I was on the jury for a sex trafficking case worked by DHS. Those guys don't f around, they're ruthless. Yeah, this is like, guys, this is the one thing that they are supposed to do, or anyone in the federal law enforcement agencies are supposed to do and do right. Okay? I don't think anyone, no matter what their framework is, no matter what their ideological framework is going to go ahead and say something like, no, they shouldn't actively search for international traffickers or sex traffickers that are doing it domestically and files. You know what I mean? This is like the thing. This is the thing that they do, and they do well, and they're supposed to do more of. Sometimes it's bastardized, and they utilize these resources to go after like consensual adult sex work, which is not criminal or not supposed to be criminal. But like beyond that, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be the Department of Homeland Security doing this, but like some agency is supposed to. Here's Brian Enton, statement from Sean P. Diddy Combs' lawyer. Statement on behalf of Sean Combs. Yesterday, there was a gross overuse of military-level force as search warrants were executed at Mr. Combs' residences. There is no excuse for the excessive show of force and hostility exhibited by the authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. Mr. Combs was never detained but spoke to and cooperated with the authorities. Despite media speculation, neither Mr. Combs nor any of his family members have been arrested, nor has their ability to travel been restricted in any way. This unprecedented ambush, paired with an advanced coordinated media presence, leads to a premature rush to judgment of Mr. Combs and is nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made in a civil lawsuit. There has been no findings of criminal or civil liability with any of these allegations. Mr. Combs is innocent and will continue to fight every single day to clear his name, says Aaron Dwyer, Diddy's attorney. Now, the thing is, given how the Department of Homeland Security moves, okay, I don't think it's meritless. Like, I as much as I shit on the federal agencies on a regular basis, as much as I criticize them, they must have meritless lawsuit that he settled in like a week. Yeah. They must have ultimately seen enough information from the civil litigation, if you recall, that was launched against Diddy like a couple months back, that he tried to settle as quietly as he possibly could, which is impossible when you're P. Diddy. That must have triggered law enforcement to at least get search warrants, which again, not meritless, can't be meritless, because like, especially in a situation this high profile with a very wealthy person, you're like, the judges are going to look at the evidence presented to offer search warrants. This isn't like FISA court. This is not happening behind closed doors. And you know, judges are like just signing off in another circumstance where they easily would offer search warrants to local police on an active investigation, like in the Breonna Taylor situation, for example, right? For like a no-knock warrant. Like, this is a high-profile person, and these are federal law enforcement agencies, which means that the standard for evidence is probably going to be pretty high. It's similar to the Trump case in some respects, where like, remember when they raided Mar-a-Lago and everyone was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, this is meritless. Like, no, I don't think, no matter how political the law enforcement agencies might be in this circumstance, like the federal agencies will be in this circumstance, there has to be a pretty high bar of evidence to clear for them to have enough, for them to at least justify being able to raid his residences to find additional evidence. Like, it's just, they don't just like sign off on it for bullshit, is what I mean. It's a lot of resources being used, as you're right, Chatter, that said that's a lot of used resources, not just for bullshit, even though cops do a lot of resources, like they swat randomly and often, and it's bad and it's wrong, and I mean it's illegal for a reason, but like it still happens. But like my point is, there must have been enough in the civil litigation that caused them to go to a federal judge and ask for a search warrant. P. Diddy also simultaneously, I think, like sold to an anonymous person, like his company recently. Is that, I saw that news as well. Someone in the chat is saying it too, but like, let's see. I mean, I've only seen it in like blogs and shit. I have not seen it in, anywhere else. So I don't know if it's like correct or not, but let me see. Like this is from vibe.com, which is respectable. Diddy sells remaining Revolt TV stake to anonymous buyer. Yeah, it's on Billboard as well. It's like, these aren't blogs. These are like respectable outlets. According to TMZ, and again, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think TMZ is also a respectable outlet when it comes to breaking this sort of stuff. At least more respectable than like blogs in general. According to TMZ, his shares were sold for an undisclosed sum, though it will remain black owned. The outlet also details that the new Revolt boss wants to remain anonymous during this time. However, they plan to announce their arrival in the coming weeks. No other details surrounding the sales have been shared. They are respectable but shameless. In some ways, you kind of need that in journalism, honestly. Like they do sleazeball shit too. Like sometimes they do it in a way where it's like you're violating their privacy. You're doing it in a way where it's like it's gross. It's dehumanizing. But in other instances, it's like someone's got to do it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I always have this arm's length with TMZ journalism where I'm like, on the one hand, I'm like, sometimes it's really sleazy, but in other times I'm glad that there's a guy out there that is doing it. You know what I mean? This is one of those moments where I'm like, I'm glad that there's a sleazeball that is like actually doing investigative reporting on this kind of shit. Does that make sense? But having said that, it is weird to admit this, but I do think that TMZ has a relatively decent track record as far as like being the first. TMZ deletes stuff if they get it wrong. Wait, really? I'm sure they've gotten shit wrong. It's impossible to always get it right. Tyler Oliveira is on his way there as we speak. I investigated P. Diddy's fuck compound. What's up, guys? Today, we're going to P. Diddy's Holmby Hills mansion. I'm going to break in, and I'm going to put a camera on the face of everybody there. With the most racist thumbnail you've ever seen, yeah. You're going to go down to your local and slam XXXX with the boys. I will be having my first VB long neck on camera. I almost had it last night, and I was like, you know what? I want to film this. I was up early this morning with an international discussion about the federal raid on Sean P. Diddy Combs' properties
in the Southern
Cuniff.
California area, and she's on with us now on Toronto Today. Megan, thanks for the time.
Properties in Los Angeles and
Why is it only audio? Damn, I'll do the BBC
two
one.
properties in Los Angeles and Miami connected to rapper Sean Combs, also known as P. Diddy
I gotta
or
pee
Puff
again.
Daddy, were raided
I've been
on Monday
slamming
by the Department
brews.
of Homeland Security. Officials have not specified the reason for the raid. However, there have been also many lawsuits that have accused Mr. Combs of sexual misconduct. His attorneys have previously denied all of the allegations made against him. Earlier spoke to Megan Cuniff, a legal affairs journalist in the Los Angeles area. I started by asking her to outline what we know so far about those raids.
Federal authorities with Homeland Security have executed search warrants at locations in Los Angeles and Miami that are associated with Sean Combs, Diddy, the music mogul, business mogul that got his start as Puff Daddy in the music world. This comes amid heightened attention to Diddy because of lawsuits that have been filed against him about sexual assault allegations, trafficking allegations, some really serious allegations that began back in November with a lawsuit that grabbed a lot of attention from his former girlfriend, Cassie, who's a well-known R&B singer. She enlisted a well-known law firm in New York City, and they unveiled a serious lawsuit against Diddy that outlined all sorts of abuse that had happened over a number of years. And there were some trafficking allegations in there, and there have been subsequent lawsuits, similar lawsuits filed since then. And the question has always been, is he facing possible criminal charges?
50 Cent is the true GOAT. Everybody he's ever beefed either turned out to be a pedo or a Nazi. He's also producing and funding a documentary on the Diddler. Yeezus DK, I'm going to expose you right now. Why are you first testing out your statements in the Discord chat and then coming into the Twitch chat and blasting it off again in the Twitch chat? Why are you A/B testing? Why are you A/B testing your chats? I actually do respect it. I do respect it. We all do that. No, I know. I look at the Discord more. I've been looking at the Discord more, and I see you mother say the same shit in the Discord chat and then hop on. It's no different than you A/B testing jokes with us before tweeting. True. Fair. It's like, damn, people are reacting to this one. This got a lot of KWs in the Discord. Time to put this in the chat. Time to put this on the map right now. Maybe the streamer will like pull me out. 2 different audiences. Yeah, just workshopping it. I respect it. It's a solid way. It's a solid way to get bangers out onto the stream. I respect it.
Show up at Diddy's house and say, hey, would you mind if we searched the place? They had legal authority to go in there. And to get that, especially in federal court, the standard is very high for them to get a search warrant signed by a magistrate judge in the Southern District of New York saying, you know, yes, there is lawful reason for you to go onto these private properties and seize these materials. Of course, it being a federal process, we don't have access to that search warrant. I was thinking back to when I worked in Spokane, Washington, and we could just go down to the county courthouse and ask to see the search warrants. It doesn't work like that in federal court, but they must have some pretty lengthy affidavit that they've written for a judge supporting this search. And of course, that's where all the details on what's going on here. I mean, who prompted this? What are they looking at? And then really who are the individuals here? Who are the possible victims that we're looking at here?
Yeah, you know, Megan, all along, Diddy has maintained his innocence and denied all of these allegations. He said in a statement in December, I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. Now, Cassie accused him in her lawsuit. She alleged years of abuse, including, she said he forced her to have sex with male prostitutes while he filmed them. Another of his accusers was a woman who said the rap producer raped her 2 decades ago when she was 17. So these are very serious allegations. Diddy has maintained he did none of this, and so hopefully we'll be hearing from his representatives in response to something like this today. I mean, he is as big of a deal as you get there in Hollywood, there in the music industry, there in the rap community as well. And so that's what I'm waiting for. But do you think, to your point, and to the Associated Press here, they says, you know, we don't know if Combs is a target of this investigation. Based on what we saw today, you know, we don't want to speculate, but knowing that they raided 2 of his residences, is it hard to say that he might not be swept up in this investigation in some form or in some capacity? I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to be an indictment or charges against him. But the very fact they raided 2 of his mansions on separate sides of the country, that's a pretty good indication he's going to be involved in this in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely involved in some capacity, but it's also just a good reminder that there's just so much we don't know. And, you know, kudos to the Associated Press, where I still always admire the lines that they include in any story about how so-and-so's lawyer, you know, we don't know if so-and-so has a lawyer. That's a standard line you see in Associated Press article, because they strive to be fair. And I think that's a good reminder that all of this is just speculation right now. We don't know what this is, and he has not been charged with a crime. However, if you just look at what's been going on, all the background, the civil allegations against him, I mean, it's obviously connected to what we've been hearing. It's just a matter of, you know, what it is and why. I will say the feds do like to operate under the element of surprise. So I think everything that's been going on with this latest lawsuit that was filed against him by Little Rod, and Diddy had hired Sean Hawley, who's a well-known criminal defense attorney in L.A., and he'd hired an attorney in New York, Bobby. She actually used to defend Ghislaine Maxwell. So he'd definitely been hiring some people with criminal defense experience, but I think he was really gearing up for, you know, a big fight and also a big publicity fight. But I do think that this would kind of knock the wind out of anybody for at least a little bit, because like I said, I don't think they had any warning on this, and the feds do like to operate under the element of surprise.
That's right, and it does seem like kind of the floodgates have opened against Diddy for whatever reason over the last several months here. And to your point, Homeland Security investigator, they don't just show up in the moment. They plan these raids so exhaustively in the weeks and months prior. And I want to put this statement up. This is
Diddy's team emailed me their statement. The good news for Diddy is that there's already a proposed class action for him from a guy who got his door kicked in during an LA public corruption investigation, the DWP one. The key caveat for class membership is his surveillance cameras must have been disabled during the raid. Aaron Dwyer hasn't been involved in Diddy's civil cases, and his sudden presence as Diddy's lead lawyer, the guy who put his names on the statements, is an indication that Diddy's team understands that this is a big fucking deal. Dwyer is a LA federal defense guy. I think my Toronto Today interview best nails what's happening with Diddy. He is not charged with a crime, and the feds have no authority to restrict his movement. Their only authority to contact his jet would be if they had a search warrant specifically targeting it. There is really zero info about this investigation in the news, but Diddy's team still complains about advanced coordinated media presence, apparently based on the fact that TV news crews learned about a gigantic raid on a celebrity's mansion and decided to report it. Yeah, dude, if you have military gear in Holmby Hills, one of the most expensive real estate markets in Los Angeles, perhaps the world, right, in a celebrity mega mansion, because like when you do a military raid in the Holmby Hills, you're blocking access to like famous people. You're blocking access to like the Hadids going home. You know what I mean? The Hadid family lives there. The Kardashians used to live there. You know what I mean? Like that's gonna be news. Gonna be in the news. All right. It's a big deal. I saw shots of Ridley Scott. Yeah, there you go. Ridley Scott got stuck and couldn't get home.